Today on New England Living, we're heading to the North Shore to visit a European-style castle rooted in history. And we'll meet a pair of rug hunters with a special eye for all things vintage, plus a Boston-based custom ski and board shop dedicated to a regional style of craftsmanship and design. It all starts right now on New England Living. New England is full of adventure. I can't believe you guys are letting me do this.
Up and away.
Look at that. Oh, you just did your first takeoff.
Join me as we discover the people and places that make us so unique.
This is it. You can't find it anywhere else in North America.
I mean, does it get any better than this? Love the place you call home with New England Living. Thanks for joining us today on New England Living. I'm your host, Rachel Holt. First up, we're heading to Gloucester for a behind-the-scenes look at a European-style castle along the New England shoreline. Meet Linda Harvey, Executive Director of the Hammond Castle Museum. Linda, it feels like we are in Europe right now. It is hard to believe that we're actually in Gloucester.
That's true. I think that was Hammond's intention. He wanted to leave something in stone that people would remember him by, to have something like the museum, which was originally his intention for this to be a museum. What you'll see in the castle are artifacts that Hammond brought here from Europe. Most of them came by boat and were built into the walls of the castle. When Hammond built the castle, he was intending to be a gift to his wife, but she really didn't like the Gothic at all. There were certain areas that she would decorate herself, and those would be her special touches.
Things you do for love, right?
Yes.
Where can we see her touches inside?
There's a side sanctuary called the Sunroom, and that was her favorite place to sit. It's on the ocean front, so it gathers a lot of sunlight during the daytime, and she just loved to be there and read. As well as that is the New England bedroom, which is on the second floor. It's a gentle, softer touch to it, but there is a secret in the room. Every doorway is covered with wallpaper so that when you close the doors, there's a flat flush look and you won't be able to find the door again unless you were paying attention to where you came in.
Given that it is a lot of effort to run this, I mean, it can't be easy to operate a castle, right? I wouldn't know personally, but I'm guessing. Why is this something that's so important to your mission, to keep this open to the public?
That was Hammond's wish. He really wanted to show not only just the architecture, but his inventions, his contributions to science. He has over 437 patents and is probably the 5th most prolific inventor in the United States. His mission was to build the future and to make it a better place for us all to live.
John Lazath is a Hammond historian and the castle's curatorial director. We're in the library, and the first thing that you'll notice when you're inside is the acoustics.
Yeah.
So tell me about that.
So this room was built with what we call a whisper ceiling. It's basically an 18-inch dome. What it does is it amplifies sound. So you have the whisper ceiling, you have the circle shape of the room, and that is what really gives it this effect. It's this echo and this reverberation that you can hear inside your own head, but nobody around you can hear it because all the sound waves are coming back to you at the same time.
In addition to its unique architecture, Hammond's library also contained a unique collection of his favorite books.
Originally, Hammond had about 5,000 or so books, although in his will, he wanted half of his collection to be donated mostly to a local library, Sawyer Free Library here in Gloucester.
What are some of those other unique features that you can find in this castle?
Our visitors tend to be really wowed by the Great Hall. It's this very medieval atmosphere. It's based on a 13th century French Gothic cathedral. We have our courtyard. It's actually inspired by a very similar courtyard at the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum in Boston. And what this is it's kind of meant to seem like a French village built around ancient Roman ruins, like a medieval French village. It has this glass ceiling called the clear story, so it's sort of like a greenhouse. At times in old photos, it looked like a tropical jungle because Hammond had all these trees and plants there. There was a weather system installed so he could make it rain or make it really foggy in there. Apparently, he used to use that to play jokes on people too. If he had a late dinner guest, they walked through the courtyard. On their way to the dining room, he'd turn on the water and soak them, and they'd have to eat in their wet clothing. People, for example, when they go to the courtyard, they might notice the statue that we have that was actually based on Hammond himself. Au naturel for the most part. So these are some common things that people tend to beeline towards.
When you think about the great American inventors, Hammond might not be the first person that comes to mind. What were some of his contributions?
Well, I like to say Hammond is the best inventor you've never heard of. He was so prolific. He invented everything from toys and games to kitchen appliances, mobile homes, robotic dogs in 1912. I mean, come on. The guy was restless. He was mentored by Thomas Edison. He met him at the age of 12 when he toured his laboratory with his father. He also was taken under the wing of Alexander Graham Bell in college while he was studying at Yale. He even worked with Nikola Tesla. So missile guidance systems, drones, RC cars, all of that stuff traces its lineage back here to the Hammond Radio Research Laboratory in Gloucester, Massachusetts.
When you're inside, this really has the feel of a European castle. Where was he sourcing his artifacts from?
We're in the dining room right now, which is actually a great example of the diversity in terms of what Hammond was collecting. The walls around us are German from the 15th century. And they come from a German monastery specifically. We also have floor tiles, which are Italian in origin. 15th century as well. Now only about 25 of them are original. The rest were high quality replicas made by the Moravian Tile Works in Pennsylvania. Above our heads are Spanish ceiling tiles. All of those are original, also 15th century. And the table here, this is also German. This is 16th century, very long and narrow, typical of tables at the time. But we have so many other pieces from far-flung countries. A lot of Italian pieces, a lot of ancient Roman pieces, for example. Our courtyard is filled with relics from ancient Rome, like our 2nd century child-sized sarcophagus. Hammond had a lot of diverse interests in terms of the artifacts he was collecting.
As far as the giant pipe organ is concerned, this took 10 years to make. This was quite the process. And is it true that he didn't even play the instrument?
That's true. He was not an organist. The extent of his sort of musical skill was he was sort of an amateurist, at the violin. But for the most part, he was just a music lover. So he would invite organists to play here, world-class musicians to give concerts, also to record record albums. But in addition, it was able to play itself. Similar to a player piano, you could have rolls containing music compositions. Hammond had over 1,000 of these at his peak.
How are you helping preserve Hammond's legacy and keep it going?
So what we're doing is, in addition to creating a lot of content in our exhibits and our digital offerings, we also have a lot of community outreach. We like to have a lot of events here. Everything from STEM events for kids, teaching them how to build things like robots, to weddings, to different events that sort of try to celebrate the medieval aspects of this place. But the man who built it is important too, and his scientific legacy is important too, and that's what we're really focusing on these days. We want to make sure that people understand there's a lot to this place and more than meets the eye.
Coming up after the break, we'll meet a couple vintage rug enthusiasts scouring the region to bring their followers the ultimate curated experience when New England Living returns after this.